What does it say for you right now?
3:10:03.
Yeah, okay, so do you want to clap on the 10?
On the 10 seconds? Well, we already missed it. You want to clap on the 20?
Sure.
Okay. Whoa.
Yay!
That's a lot of lag.
Well, see, remember, like, it always sounded right for you and, like, wrong for me?
Oh, okay.
And now it sounds like a bit of, like, you're not used to the lag. For me, that sounded like way less lag than usual.
Oh, that was almost a full second off.
But, like, it doesn't, like, either way it works for us. Like,
It works, I guess. I wish there was no lag, but something, the Rolling Stones, you know.
Something, the Rolling Stones.
You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might use time is.
Sometimes you gotta go where everybody knows the time. And it's always time to rhyme.
Time.
Hey.
Welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast. Do you want to just go into it, or?
Well, Lydia, if
What?
that is your real name, what is this podcast?
Oh, we doing it?
Sure.
Welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast, where we read Homestuck and tell you about it. That's what it is.
My name's Alex, and I haven't read Homestuck before.
My name's Lydia, and I used to say I super have, so I probably will keep doing that, but shit, my knowledge is obsolete, and at this point, half complete, so strap in.
Hey, it's 2019.
It's 2019, baby. We've been... Is this your segue into, hey, it's been a second?
No, we already did that a year ago.
I mean, but it's been like another second.
Yeah, it's been another second. Don't worry about it. Let's just talk about Homestuck.
You just want to go into it? I kind of was gonna...
No, yeah, we're gonna talk. Gonna wrap. I'm gonna turn my chair around here and lean in.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is the podcast where we read Homestuck, and tell you about it.
It is. Wait. Okay. So are we gonna like address that, like the fact that there's been like a hiatus, or no? I feel like we both kind of sound a little different on account of time has ravaged us, but
we're just a whole sweep older.
Yeah. Boulder?
It's been one sweep since we potted cast. Please go ahead.
I was just gonna like launch into it. If we're launching into it, let's go, baby. This is very authentic.
Yeah, It's been one sweep is actually a good episode title, so
nice.
We got that.
So this is very authentic to like the experience of reading Homestuck for a lot of people, or like rereading, because it's so hard when you're like a real person and not a high schooler or whatever to actually read it all in a concise amount of time, and then you like stop, then you pick it up 2 years later and you're 3,000 pages in, but you're 5,000 pages from the end and you don't remember what the fuck is going on and who's alive and who's dead. So
true.
That's coming. Don't worry. Actually, 3 pages into like what we read this week, Carcat like goes ahead and like basically runs down the status of all the trolls, at least, which is
that was helpful.
Yeah. So the pages that we're reading today are. I'm scrolling.
Oh, okay. Well, we should talk about how the website is different.
Oh yeah, before we launch into it, yeah, the website's different. I'm mad about it.
I'm not mad, but it's weird. So like before, our page numbers were based on the total pages on mspa.com, or mspaintadventures.com, which included the previous stories, which Homestuck dwarfed, but still there was like 2,000 odd pages.
1,900
pages already there at page 1 of Homestuck. Now Homestuck page 1 is homestuck.com/story/1. Luckily we accounted for this when we were making our hemometer, which we will have to make a new one, or we'll have to add to it for the first time in a sweep.
Yeah. We're older trolls now.
but we are going back in page count, even though we're going forward in total pages.
Yes, it's like the furthest ring. Time is meaningless. Welcome to the Hamsteak Podcast. Time is meaningless.
What do you mean it's been 2 years?
Pay no attention to the 2 years that have transpired. So the pages that we're reading this week are now, like, they're 1 indexed. So they are now 3423 to 3658. So we're also going to start picking the pace up a little bit and covering about, like, 200 to 250 pages an episode.
Yeah.
At least. Because we want to finish this story eventually.
We do. And also, this isn't, this episode going up doesn't mean that we're back on, like, a regular schedule yet. I'm currently living at home, which does not make for podcasting opportunities. I was just luckily home alone this week, and we had the chance to record. But eventually, we will get back into the swing of things in a more periodic manner.
Hell yeah. Did you, in your time home alone, have you had to, like, create any sort of Rube Goldbergian traps for any guileless robbers?
Yes, and they were made of my dirty laundry that I haven't done yet all week.
Oh, that's pretty scary.
I've truly been stuck in this home.
So this week,
so we went back a few pages to, like, catch up, like, to remind ourselves of where we were in the story.
Sure.
And
Did
basically, yeah, like, we covered half of this.
No, we didn't. We never posted that episode that you're thinking of.
Oh, right.
Episode 42 is not posted. This is our second go.
Yeah, you're right. That is the stuff that we... Okay, so never mind. We didn't cover this on the podcast. So yeah, so where do we start this week?
So this week, we are picking up, like, right in the middle, unfortunately, of a bunch of suspense that was building over on the Meteor, where, if you recall, all of the trolls are hanging out. And there are, by my count, 2 to 3 people on discrete murderous rampages.
Yes.
So
we have Vriska just killed Tavros.
Mm-hmm.
Eridan just killed Pfeffery
Mm-hmm.
and tried to kill Kanaya.
Mm-hmm.
And Gamzee is honking.
Mm-hmm.
Has he killed anyone yet?
Has he killed anyone yet? No, but he does this week.
Yeah, he sure does.
Yeah. So let me just run down the list. I went through. So the pages start this week. Basically, all that happens is Solix got knocked out for trying to defend Pfeffery, and Karkat drags him inside of the lab to just, like, hide. And he is trying to get in touch with Terezi, but she's not answering because she has discovered Tavros' dead body, and she's trying to, like, revive him by kissing him. And she takes off her, like, glasses that she's using to chat. And by the time Karkat gets to his computer, she's signed off. He's, like, reading those back messages. And then he messages her back to be like, oh my god, like, Eridan's on a rampage too. Please tell me you're alive. And all he gets back is honk. So he blocks her.
Just understandable. But yeah, so we don't know yet why he gets that back from her.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that Gamzee's got her computer, but...
Right, I just mean that we don't know what's happened to her.
Right, yeah. So then he falls down the stairs and knocks out all of Solix's teeth. And then in his frantic messages to Terezi, we get a nice little recap of where all the trolls are, at least as far as he knows. Aradia, I'm filling in blanks here. Mm-hmm. Aradia, a while ago, exploded. Aradia robot exploded. Tavros has just been killed by Vriska, to basically, like, take revenge on her for he realized that she was responsible for them having all the problems that they're having now. She's the one that prototyped Becquerel. And he wants to kill her, or he was she was involved with that. And so he wants to kill her and avenge her, and she murdered him. Solix, and now she's kind of like mysteriously, nobody knows where she is. Solix was knocked out by Eridan for defending Pfeffery, who was killed because Eridan really wanted her to like get back together with him and run off and join Jack and like be monarchs of this like new order, which 100% was not going to happen. And in like ultimate, he's such a shithead. He just killed her, like, for essentially just rejecting him.
Right. And Eridan, remember, just, went on a power trip with his, like, magic wand.
His white science wand.
That was, like, his science wand, I mean. Yeah. So now he's,
he exercises that by killing his ex-girlfriend, which is a fun... that's fun. So Solix is knocked out. Kanaya also tried to defend her, and she was killed. She's dead. Nepeta is, we see in the background, she is talking to Equius right now. Or we'll see in a second that she's talking to Equius right now. Terezi is investigating Tavros' murder, although we don't know what just happened to her. Gamzee just took her glasses. Vriska, we don't know where she is. Equius is talking to Nepeta, and we know this because I misspoke. Karkat's recapping all of this to Equius, which I'll explain in a second. Gamzee's on a rampage. Eridan's on a different rampage.
Right.
And Karkat is, like, trying to find out who's alive, what's going on. The only people, as far as he knows right now, that are still alive and not on a rampage are Nepeta and Equius. That's it. And so why is he contacting Equius?
He wants Equius to protect everyone from who's still alive from Gamzee, because Equius is like his last
even though he's a
hope
huge
because
creep.
he is just so strong. Right, like this is his last defense, is contacting Equius. But then Equius is really weird about learning that Gamzee is on a rampage because he thinks it's Gamzee's
basically because
duty
he's
as a High Blood
from
to go
the
on a
social
rampage.
caste that, like, historically their job, like what he would do when he grows up, Gamzee, is to be a subjugator, which basically means like an executor. Like they quote unquote hear cases, but it's mostly by murdering people. And he's murdering based on like caste lines. And Equius has these really fucked up like ideas about conforming to the social order, and so he's like, yeah, he has every right to do that. And so what Karkat's like, hey, I need you to take out Gamzee, and he's like, I cannot do that for you, but I'll try and find a way to protect everyone, which he is about to summarily fail to do. But
yeah, he also Karkat also asks Equius to like oh, why are you okay with, or sorry, 1 second. What page is this? I'm gonna read it back.
Read it back now, y'all. 2 trolls this time. 2 trolls. Scroll to the left. Scroll to the right. Freeze! Everybody kill your friends!
So, yeah, Karkat says, why are you so into Gamzee being a murderous monster when you hate Eridan for doing the same thing? And Equius is like, oh, well, that's different. He's a sea dweller. I'm feuding with him. That's what I'm supposed to do with him. With Gamzee, I'm supposed to accept it.
Yeah, he's like, it's I'm supposed to be at odds with Eridan. It's dignified. Like, you're teenagers!
I have...
God.
Maybe we'll get into it after we go through the pages, but I have a theory about the
Sorry,
the
that was my
stuff
phone.
there. No worries.
It.
I have a theory. I'll just say it now, basically.
Yeah.
Is that all of this, like, all of these, like, blood feuds are greatly exaggerated, literal beliefs in the stories that are told about the ancestors, which we know are, like, just regular trolls. So it's like these things get amplified over the generations, where it's like it's dignified for us to be in a feud,
Mm-hmm.
whereas like the original two, like the Eridan ancestor and the Equus ancestor, maybe they were just like, it's like the Avatar: The Last Airbender episode with like the two baby boys who are in a fight. That's just a game theory.
Interesting. Well, we're about to learn a lot about these ancestors, not just this week, but like moving forward. So, okay. So meanwhile, we cut over to Terezi. She's investigating the scene of Feferi and Kanaya's murder. And what she finds is bite marks on Feferi's neck, surrounded by a little bit of like jade green blood, and Kanaya's body is gone. And she tries to come up with a theory to explain it, but she's just like, I wish this theory made any goddamn sense. Then it's a game.
Yeah, it's the Alternia bound sprites, but it's just a little short segment, and it's basically just Equius and Nepeta, with Equius telling Nepeta to go hide while he goes and protects everyone from one or more murderous rampagers.
Yes.
Which Nepeta does not do. She decides to crawl around in the vents to see what's happening.
Yes. Which, we'll see how that ends for her. In playing this game, I realized that one of the reasons this comic is so long is that, for example, like, Equius and Nepeta rehash a lot of information that we kind of already know. And, like, on the plus side, like, you do get to see different characters' reactions to it. Like, a lot of times, like, in stories, like, writers will kind of gloss over how information actually gets propagated to the whole cast. There's definitely things that they tell, don't show. And Hussey shows and doesn't tell everything, and there's so many characters and so much happening that it's like virtually never the case that anything happens off screen. And sometimes it's a little redundant. Like, honestly, especially in these games, I find that some of the dialogue can be a little redundant.
It's true. Like, we've just remembering back to everything we know about the Trolls session, most of that has been told so far and not shown.
Yes.
Like, we've seen Vriska killing Tavros, Tavros bringing Vriska's body to the altar, so she could become God Mode.
Yeah.
We've seen Karkat, like, meeting
God
Jack
Mode?
Noir. God tier?
Yeah.
Sorry. God Mode. God Mode is when you can buy all the items in The Sims. We've seen Karkat meeting Jack Noir and, like, bonding over same blood.
Mm-hmm. Oh, same blood.
Same blood. And we've seen, like, a couple other little scenes, like, from the planets, but most of what we know about the Troll session has been, oh, you remember back when we were still in the session and not in this shitty lab, this is what happened. Oh, yes, of course I remember that. But also, we're less than halfway through this comic, so I imagine we will see more of it.
You'll see more of it. Oh, the stuff that happened in the Trolls session? Some of it, yeah, you're right. Some of that was told and not shown, but we're going to continue to have more stuff. I'm sorry, you're probably about to hear a little bit of background noise. My roommate just came home. Oh,
that's okay.
And here's Phoebe probably purring loud enough to pick up.
Phoebe, I missed you.
Oh, yeah. There's one thing that's changed is my cats don't stampede around anymore nearly so much. They pretty much just chill. They're old now. Phoebe's 3. Phoebe's 3.5. Max is almost 3. So they're just chilling.
So old.
They're grown. Grown babies. So we play the game. Nepeta goes to hide. The only thing that there really is to do in the game, aside from, like, Nepeta goes to hide and crawls around the vents and sees some things, which I actually kind of loved how they did that. She goes into the grate and you can only walk in one direction, really, and it, like, peters out into, like, near complete darkness. She looks through the grate. She sees one where you can see Gamzee's torn apart Terezi's scalemates that she threw away and wrote honk in Tavros's blood. And then she comes out in another area where Kanaya's blood is trailed from one transportalizer to another broken one. She can't use either of them. And then she looks down through the last grate, and all you hear is, like, this really slowed down ICP clip about miracles, and then the cutscene fades to black, and you get dumped into
Yeah,
Equius.
it really set the mood for this terrifying scene.
Wait, which terrifying scene?
The music set the mood for Gamzee doing this
thing that he's
Equius.
doing. Yeah. So, and what he's doing to Equius is,
So Equius ventures out to figure out what's going on,
mm-hmm.
and he sees some red glasses up on top of a platform, or on top of a statue.
It's a tank. It's one of the big tanks that held huge muscle beasts, like what
Right.
Equius really likes. So, like, you can see in the game, you see Equius walk past one of them that's like floating in the jar. There's another one that's broken, and then he sees one that's got two heads and under armor, like these ladies with like boob armor. This has like defined udders on it.
Is my favorite underwear brand.
Me too. And he's been shot through the eye, and so Equius is like, oh my goodness, somebody got him. Somebody like must be really good at archery. And that's when he sees on top of another tank, he sees Terezi's glasses. And he starts being, I think he's just like, hey, somebody's on the loose. You know, we should stick together, like, be careful. And Gamzee says, if your blood is a running joke, soon it's going to be running through my hands. There's a bunch of motherfucking in there, but I don't need to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells Equius to kneel.
Yeah. And then he makes Equius kneel.
Yeah.
By shooting him with an arrow through the knee.
Which was not a meme yet,
exactly.
actually.
It was, I believe it predated Skyrim by a couple of months.
Completely, yeah. This page was posted in February 2011, and Skyrim came out in October of that year. So,
November.
When it was posted, honestly, it's kind of badass. I don't know, I thought it was kind of badass. He just, like, gets him in the knee, and then, like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's pretty visceral. And then Gamzee comes down, snaps the bow in half, which is Equius' whole thing, and strangles Equius.
Yeah, and Equius gets off on it.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm sure I've talked about this before. Maybe this is just me revisiting it, like, as a further, like, aged person or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, these are 13-year-olds. Like,
yeah,
they didn't have to be.
It really sits badly now. I mean, it wasn't great, like, even a couple years ago, but at this point, it's just exhausting.
Just to see, like, children, like, being made to act out such violence and, like, gross sexual content.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, I wonder if that's just, like, I don't know, people in a certain internet orbit, or if that's, like, kind of culturally, we're all just, like, so exhausted by the way that, you know, vulnerable populations are treated in media.
Yeah, I mean, like, there were definitely detractors of Homestuck from the beginning who said, like, this is weird and exploitative.
Yeah. So where did you hear that? Because I never did, because I dove directly into the fan.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, and I might have just said that, assuming that it was true.
I mean, you're probably right.
To be honest. Yeah. I shouldn't have said definitely. I should have said probably.
Yeah. I mean, like, people absolutely did, like, go ahead and proceed to make porn of these characters, like, not aged up, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, God.
That's also just something I'm saying that, like, I am certain happened. I can't remember seeing it.
It's just, like, of course they did.
Yeah. It just happened.
Yeah. But, anyway, it's just uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And it was meant to be funny.
Right, yeah, it's not even treated as serious. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Don't make autoerotic asphyxiation jokes about children. Jesus Christ. But you gotta, let's just plow on through. So
Lepida sees this.
Yeah.
And is not a fan.
No.
And she vaults out of the grate above with her claws out.
Yes, yeah, she leaps out of the grate and goes for Gamzee, and Gamzee grabs her wrist and snaps it, and she just, like, rakes her claws across his face. And he just, like, has this, like, weird grin on the whole time.
It's very disconcerting. And then we don't even see what happens to her. Like, her vision blacks out.
Yeah. And then this transition does rule. It blacks out and all she hears is like honk, honk,
Yeah.
honk. And then you go to the next page and it says beep, like really big on the whole page. John has crashed his dad's car into a tree.
But it's fine because he can just put it back in his pocket. Because that's how things work in this universe. And I forgot how funny that was.
It's pretty good. Then there's another, like, bad... Then it's bad again.
It's bad, but it's also, like, this is what Homestuck is about. Like,
can you elaborate?
So this is where we get, like, a big, heartfelt message between Vriska and John. And it's Vriska, like, being manipulative and shitty, but, like, in this very specific way that just, like, works so well narratively. And it's, like, it's awful to read, but it's also just so well done.
Do you mean she's, like, a very... Like, it's a very authentic, like, abuser talk?
Yeah, exactly.
It is. And it's very authentic, like, young, completely unconscious. Or, like, semi-conscious abuser, too. Like, she obviously, like, doesn't necessarily realize she's manipulating him or doesn't realize that, like, manipulating him in the way that she is like, bad.
And, yeah, and she's toxic. Talking about the difference between human and troll morality because she's admitting to him that she feels guilty about killing Tavros. Which she doesn't want to admit to any of the trolls because that makes her feel weak. Because she goes into how troll society is about culling the weak people who don't have the stomach to commit massacres. And like it's part of her bloodline to be a mass murderer, and how if she hadn't been a mass murderer since early childhood, she would have been killed or been eaten by her Lucis.
Yeah.
It's heavy stuff, and like John's like, this isn't okay, but thank you for explaining.
Yeah. Man, to this day, like, I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about all of that, like, moral relativism, especially now that I'm, like, more removed from it, and, and I'm like, it's not used to as much effect of, like, exploring any particular theme. It's just kind of, like, a fact that, like, they happen to be so violent. You will, like, there's reasons for it, and you'll find out more about it later, but,
yeah.
I want, like, the way that she talks to him, she gets right into, like, are you mad at me? He just found out his father's, what is it? He is freaked out because he's trying to find his dad, and she's just like, John, are you mad at me? I'm so relieved that you're not mad at me for tricking you into dying so that you would reach God tier. And, like, it doesn't seem like John's mad. But this is the thing that happens with abusers, where they make themselves out to be these, like, vulnerable people, and, like, in such a way that, like, there's no room for the other person's feelings. And then she wants to turn it around and talk to John about how she killed Tavros, and yeah, she feels bad. And it's really uncomfortable. This isn't a good look, especially after, like, years of, like, Me Too. Where we've seen receipts of people's conversations with these types of people. Like, I'm very fortunate in that I've never really had a relationship like this, but it looks so much like these interactions. I mean,
speaking personally, it does ring very true to emotional abuse. It's not great. It's hard to read, but it's also, I don't think that makes it something you shouldn't read.
No.
If you can stomach it.
Yeah.
Because it's like the best part of Homestuck, I think. Not in, like, I mean, like, the coolest part or, like, the funniest part is just, like, the most thoughtful, like, carefully crafted part.
Yes, for sure. For sure. It's one of the places where Hussey, like, shows some sophistication.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so it's a lot. And she also talks about how, like, we were talking about troll society, it's how Vriska kind of thinks that the game is grooming them to be what their society, like, wants them to be, and she thinks that the game was trying to use their murderous instincts against each other.
She thinks the game wanted them to use their murderous instincts and pit them against each other in the two teams, but that Karkat ruined it by being too good of a leader, by being too human, basically.
Yes.
by not being bloodthirsty, by being like resourceful and collaborative, he kind of screwed them over by being not what she thinks the game was expecting them to be.
Right. As far as she's concerned, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut over to Karkat. He is looking at the ectobiology equipment, and he's thinking, "You are no ectobiologist. If only there was some other title more befitting of the true discipline you practice and the death sentence given to whatever you do the disservice of creating. You can't think of one, though. His handle is carcinogeneticist." Then Solix wakes up. And then we cut back to Vriska and John.
Yeah, Solix wakes up. Yes, sorry.
That's pretty much it. And then Vriska starts talking to John about how she's going to go fight Jack. She feels like it's just something that she has to do. And she's thinking about coming of age as a troll, and she's just thinking that's what I need to do.
Yeah, sorry,
to prove myself.
I thought we were just going to be going over this part like quickly because we'd already done it, but we didn't.
We didn't post
do it. Yeah, so I didn't take like detailed notes.
Oh, that's here. Okay. I'll kind of like yeah. So the one other important thing that she brings up in this conversation is that she tells John about ancestors who are trolls believe that, centuries before your own time, there will have been these other trolls that will have, had your same blood color. They will have had your same sign, which like there's a hand wavy thing of like your sign is assigned to you and you have to wear it. And you learn about them and you can try to like use them to understand your own path. And hers was a pirate queen. And she actually found her journal.
Yeah, she found her journal in a chest that was in a shooting star.
Yeah.
Which Vriska like chased. So, and we've seen like meteors crash onto planets with important items before, and babies. So pretty clearly this was not a coincidence.
No, not at all. And then Solix starts catching up with Terezi.
Yeah, so Solix is blind now.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Terezi, how do blind?"
Yeah. Because she has learned how to like see with smells, and she's like, "Well, I'm not, an immortal dragon, but I'll try."
Yeah, and being reminded of that reminded me of how each of these trolls are like the special chosen one in their own way. Like,
yeah,
the dragon princess, the brood mother, the spider feeder, the
Fish
horror
princess.
terror. Yeah, like everyone is like unique.
Pretty much, except for like
OCD
Eridan and Tavros. Some of them aren't like chosen ones. They're definitely all unique.
Like I think even Eridan has something.
Yeah, but whatever.
Maybe not.
His distinguishing trait is that he's a jackass.
Maybe Tavros doesn't have any distinguishing trait.
I think his distinguishing trait is that he doesn't have one. Poor guy.
He's dead. But yeah, so Solix wakes up. He has no teeth. He has no sight.
That's it.
Yeah.
Then
we cut to Dave.
Then we go to Dave. Dave is playing one of Bro's video games, and he's wearing his old shades. And Aradia is talking to him, and he's like, "You're a troll. Shut up. Leave me alone." He doesn't, like, we don't know where this is or when this is. And Alex, I want to hear, like, how you, like, felt about this, because I love this sequence.
I don't remember how exactly all this dream bubble stuff works. Like they went into a bit more in this reading.
Yeah.
But so this is a Dave who died, and now he's in this dream bubble, in like furthest space or whatever it's called.
The furthest ring.
Furthest ring. And Aradia is God tier, and she's talking to him. This memory of Dave, or this like Dave living out a memory, in a dream bubble.
Yeah. But she is, he's like, "Oh, so you're dead too?" And then you just see, and we talked about this in like the last episode that we did, or maybe it was like 2 episodes prior or something, but, she's alive. Like, she's alive for
right,
real.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I love
Aradia's
her so
finally alive.
much.
She has this enormous wide-eyed grin, just like she wants to take in everything.
Yeah.
And I just like, I feel like I don't know her because she's been like a monotone robot this whole time.
Yeah.
Like literally. But now she like it's almost like she wants to make up for lost time and just like take in everything and like be just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah. Oh, I love her. She's so happy and like wise, and she just wants to help.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. And so she helps Dave realize, like, yeah, you're dead. You're the Dave that, you know, Terezi convinced to die on the quest bed. And he's from some alternate timeline, and he slowly realizes, like, what's going on. Meanwhile, Vriska flies off to go fight Jet.
And she tells John that he needs to get the tumor out of the battlefield. And he's like, I don't know how to do that. Like, do I find a cave or something?
Yeah.
Is it underground? And she says, be creative with the windy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he uses a tornado to drill into the ground.
Yeah.
Which causes his dad in a faraway castle to spill some wine on Rose's mom.
Yeah, they're on a nice date and they hold hands.
And they're like, and she's like, wow, the narration's like, she has never met a man with such an interesting, like, shapely nose and interesting pipe smell. They call it like a sultry pipe smell.
Yeah.
And then we get an image of Jack Noir watching them.
Yeah.
And I forgot how like messed up this guy already looks. Like his like scar eye and missing arm, and just he's like prototyped so much stuff into himself already.
His sword is stored through his torso.
Yeah, the sword is stored in the torso.
Yeah. And then like he's wearing, I think at that point he's wearing like Dave's like bros shades and like his old like quasi jester outfit. Like it's a look.
Yeah. Like the tattered jester outfit around his neck. And he's got like a Becquerel shaped face.
Yeah.
And huge like black angel wings. It's a lot. But then we cut back to some excerpts from the journal that Vriska found in that meteor.
Yes. It's the journal of her ancestor, Marquise Spinneret Mindfang, who is a bad person. Mm-hmm. Pretty categorically.
Yeah, so the thing about this is my immediate assumption is that this is not a literal journal. It's like character role-playing notes, basically.
Written by who?
And by her actual ancestor.
Oh.
But that this Marquise is a figment of the or is like a persona that the Marquise or that the ancestor is trying to embody.
Mm.
And that like I kind of get that from the language and from like the silhouettes, which are very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like the visual representation of these ancestors has like no facial features, which I mean, neither do the Guardians, but like it's like a mood painting instead of like an actual image of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking everything written here with a grain of salt.
Okay.
It seems like flarping notes.
Flarping notes. Well, so with that grain of salt, so this is I think we probably put the content warning at the top. This is in like a page and a half of florid prose. Basically what happens is Mindfang tells us about how she has a cosmesis relationship, like a romantic rivalry with Eridan's ancestor, something Dual Scar, which is a stupid name, and about how she likes to torment him with the fact that she doesn't really care about like the blood hierarchy, and like to prove it, she's like stolen a ship of slaves that he's got, and brings one of them up from the hold and like doesn't check her blood color. Like she seems like she's runs warm, so like she can kind of tell that she's like a lower blood color, which like, God, this is gross. The whole thing's gross. And she mind controls this woman into like starting to undress her, essentially. Like the implication is like she's gonna take advantage of her. and it's gross.
It's really nasty.
It's gross. Like, the whole point of it is she's just, like, using this girl basically to, like, piss off her romantic quote-unquote rival who is having none of it.
It's, like, I don't understand what purpose it serves, besides just, like, straightforwardly being, like supposed to be titillating for the audience, to have, like, a sexy scene in Homestuck.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
It's really gross. It doesn't work. I think it's just Hussey trying to, cast these ancestors as, like, very adult. Like, make it clear that they're, like, adults, I guess.
Which makes me more sure that they're not. But I guess we can't say anything about that.
I can't.
You can't respond to that. I know. I know, I love it. I forgot this part. This is my favorite part, is saying things with certainty that you can't address. Ugh. Except I don't have, like, the Brooks, like, knack for getting it exactly right.
No, well, because half of it doesn't make a lick of sense.
True. Well, neither does JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
That's fair.
Go listen to Yara Yara Boys. They've been much better at updating for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get basically a paralleling of events between these ancestors and the trolls, which is kind of cool. As the Marquise, the Dual Scar, and the High Blood, which is Gamzee's ancestor, kind of come to a 3-way impasse on the high seas. And
wait, that's not what happened. I think you misread that. That's not what's going on.
I'm barely understanding what's happening here.
Okay, so what happens is, back in Vampire Times, Eridan was upset by what Vriska did and, broke up with her and is going, full just enemy. Not trying to, protect her and, have that rivalry for himself. And so what he's trying to do to take her down, which she thinks is really cowardly, is pass off everything he knows about her. She's a pirate, so obviously, the government, wants her out. So he's trying to go to the Grand High Blood and the Court of the Subjugulators. The Grand High Blood being Gamzee's ancestor, and he's sort of a judge, but his job is basically to murder people. And he presents the information about Vriska's fleet, or Mindfang's fleet, everything he knows about it. And they are not especially impressed. They send off this neophyte Red Glare, who's a very new legislacerator. She's a lawyer come cop come assassin, and her job is going to be to go
and that's
track down
Terezi's
Mindfang
ancestor.
Yeah, that's Terezi's ancestor. Red Glare, because she also wears the red glasses.
Yes, and her outfit's very cool.
I love her. She's a cool ancestor.
All the outfits are really cool.
They are.
And these highlighted black silhouettes character models. Yeah, they're cool. But anyway, so there's a paralleling between these 3 ancestors and the 3 murderous trolls as they come to a 3 times showdown.
Yeah, it's Eridan and Vriska facing each other down. And then Honk's
Gamzee
approach
appears
in the background.
Yeah.
And then here comes Kanaya.
Right. Well, I want to talk about, just really quickly, there's a little flash with a little song, and it's an Old West showdown song with clown sounds. And I just want to okay, there was the Far Side, the comic strip? Here it is. Oh no, never mind, that's not it. So there was a comic just going around Tumblr last week, a Far Side strip, and it was of an Old West shootout.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
With the clown and the cowboy.
Yes.
And this music fits it perfectly. I'll try to find a link. I'll try to find a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I could think of.
Yeah. So the comic sets up this badass showdown of all of these murderous trolls, and then Kanaya approaches, and she's glowing bright white, and she's alive. She's got a big hole through her, but she's alive, and she's carting her chainsaw.
and she runs real fast. And she kicks Gamzee in the troll nuts.
So hard. She nails him in the nards so hard he flies off the edge of the rooftop. Then she turns around and clocks Vriska across the rooftop. Then she grabs Eridan's wand, and the sound effect is debunk as she, like, snaps it over her head. And then she chainsaws him in half.
Yeah. I wrote down, she snaps Eridan's wand in half, and then she snaps Eridan in half.
Yeah, she wrecks his shit.
And Vriska is into it.
Yeah. Because we needed more, like, D-plot romance among these troll children, but whatever. And then there's a cool page where it's, like, Shades Descend, where, like, Descend and Ascend are, like, always, like, the title of, like, cool flashes or whatever. This is just, like, a gif of, like, a really long panel where Equius's, like, cracked glasses, like, slowly fall down the page.
Really slowly.
Yeah. And then they land on Kanaya's face. And then she turns her... What Vriska's so smitten with is, like, she's got so much, like, style, like, these shades fall on her face. Then she turns her chainsaw back into lipstick, but it's, like, all bloody, and then she puts it on. And Vriska's just like, oh my god.
Yeah. And she's got this, like, huge, like, billowing sash around her waist.
Yeah.
It's a cool look.
Kanaya's a badass, you guys.
She is. Then we cut right back to where Jack was, and he has murdered Mom and Dad.
Yeah. Like, John's dad and Rose's
and
mom.
Are there any of the Guardians left at this point? Because Bro died.
Yeah.
They died, and then Beck is, like, not dead, but in Jack Noir.
Yes, in fact, at the end of this comic, later on, Jade's going to talk about how they've all lost their guardians at this point.
But,
so yes.
Is Grandpa still alive? Is Grandpa still there?
Grandpa wasn't really her guardian. It was
right,
Beck.
Right, but is Grandpa still, like, alive?
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know, and he doesn't count. Because he didn't do any guardianing.
Okay, never mind. So Jack starts, like, piling on trophies from these people he's murdered to add to his bro glasses and his, Beck form and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's holding little Cal as well.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's no trophy too small to take off of a dead body. But then he realizes that he's become what he hated, which apparently was people putting on clothes. He starts thinking about dog treats, and then he starts thinking about Jade. And we see that he had an opportunity to kill Jade, but he couldn't. So he just calls Diamond Stroogs and tells him to do it.
Yeah. And so Diamond Droog, who right now is the Draconian dignitary, because it's before he's been exiled. And the Draconian dignitary, of course, is like, all right, well, I don't have time for this. So he calls up the courtyard droll, who is Club's Deuce. Sorry,
I keep like doubling up the plural, Diamond Droogs and Club's Deuces.
Okay, double up. It's good. They have double identities and all kind of.
True.
Then in the future, Aradia has future Jack trapped.
Yeah. We be future Jack, and he's trapped in a moment by Aradia, but she can only hold him there while she's giving it all her energy. Mm-hmm. So she lets him go and blips out of his way.
Yes.
And then she is at the green... Oh, sorry,
she appears out by the green sun, and she finds another memory bubble. This time it is one of her other robo-selves.
Yeah. And this is like a really, really confusing sequence, honestly.
Do you want me to explain it?
Well, so basically, she enters this memory, and Jack throws Lil Cal at this Aradia bot, and then they both blip out of existence just in front of this meteor that's crashing through a portal. And this meteor is going to Alternia and catches the eye of a very young Aradia, who follows it into a hole in the ground, where she finds the remains of this Aradia bot and Lil Cal.
Mm-hmm.
She also finds a frog temple.
Yes. And John's dad's wallet, including the Crosby top and his dad's hat, which is how she came upon the Crosby top that everybody was so confused about.
Yeah. Right. And also she thinks that the hat is a genuine archaeologist hat.
Yeah.
Which is very cute.
So meanwhile, like a live god tier Aradia is helping Solix, who's also here, recognize that he is asleep, while also helping Aradia bot realize she's dead.
Yeah. So there's 2 Aradias and 1 Solix,
mm-hmm.
and then Jade is also
Jade
here.
is here also. And they try to catch up. Apparently Pfeffery has been coordinating to have everyone meet out here in the afterlife. And then, like, Aradia does some exposition, which, like, okay, other reasons why this comic is so long is, like, this isn't important. I don't care about this. I don't know. Maybe I did at some point.
About the, like, the character, like, the TikTok.
Yeah,
like,
I don't, like, that, I don't fucking care. Like, somehow I think the implication is Doc Scratch influenced a bunch of different trolls to write various codes, like scrawl them on their walls, like write them in their flarping books. And then the flarping books were transportalized by the Black Queen of their session, and combined with the captulog of the cue ball that Rose is using, that magic cue ball, and mixes them all together and creates Doc Scratch, who is the first guardian of Alternia.
Right. Well,
was
you're
sent
missing
back.
the part where Kanaya stitches Lil Cal back together,
right, and Lil Cal
and
is
puts
the
him
other.
in a lime green suit.
Right.
Yeah. So Doc Scratch is just like a ghost goo clone of Lil Cal with a cue ball head and like a bunch of books.
Yeah.
With like codes in them.
Yeah. Which, like, I don't know. Maybe at some point this was cool, but, like, I don't care. like, there was 20
like,
pages of I don't care.
Yeah, I was just waiting the whole time for, like, something to make sense in it. It seems like it should be a big payoff, but it's, like, completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's cool to know that, like, Lil Cal is, like, a part of Doc Scratch, but, like, I don't know what that means yet.
Yeah. I think at the time, like some of what we're missing is that there was a lot of mystery built up around Lil Cal, because he's like been everywhere at this point. He seems pretty insidious in his own right.
But this just like adds more questions instead of answering anything.
Yeah, whatever. She explains all of that, and then we beat Doc Scratch.
Doc Scratch just kind of like grabs the camera and is like, "Hey, take a knee. I'm gonna talk for a while now.
Yeah,
I'm insufferable."
Basically, pretty much. He's like, I'm an excellent host. Like, his stuff, maybe it's because I've read it so many times, but I just, like, skim his dialogue at this point, because it's, like, 90% insufferability. You just read the topic sentence.
And, like, that's the point, but also, I don't want to read it.
I don't want to read it, especially when he makes you fucking highlight his words. Fuck off, dude. Which, like, is a good way to make you hate the villain.
Yeah. He's antagonistic towards the reader, not just the main characters.
Yeah. So speaking of being, like, pedantic to everyone, Jack, like, Spade Slick, like, Alternian Jack, not the kid's Jack, who is now Beckerel, shows up at Doc Scratch's hideout, and shows up, tries to beat him with his cane. Doc, like, takes it from him and, like, calmly turns it into a pretzel
and then he
hands
offers
it
him
back
some
to
candy,
him.
which is, it's fun. Like, Jack just, like, takes some candies out of the bowl and just takes more and then dumps them into his hat.
Mm-hmm. Which, if you remember, like, these exiles, like Spade Slick et al., are a little bit of a callback to Problem Sleuth, where candies and keeping candies in your hat were, like, a big thing.
Okay, alright. That's good then. I thought it was a cute little background gag, but it's good that it was a callback then.
Everything's also, a fucking callback in this comic.
Happy Weed Minute.
Happy Weed Minute. It's 4:23 for me.
Wait, what?
It's 4:23 for me.
Why?
I don't know. It's just what my
Your
clock
computer's
says.
wrong.
Maybe. I guess so.
Time dot is.
Time dot is not.
That's why you said you were 3 minutes ahead because you were 3 minutes ahead.
Yeah. I bet you what happened, you can cut this out, but I bet you what happened is I have one of those, like, extreme, like, focus apps that, like, will work even if you reboot your computer, unless you change the system time. So I probably don't have it set to, like, sync automatically anymore. I'm pretty sure I have it set, like, I manually set it to, like, some clock that I was looking at when I was putting it back.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Brought it on myself. The only important thing that happens in that conversation between Doc Scratch and Jack is that he alludes to the fact that Jack is the one who's going to bring about the break. He will initiate the break by shooting someone, which he says in many more words than that. And he gives Jack the dogs because he's got to turn around and go talk to Rose.
Yeah.
AKA be a huge creep to Rose.
Yeah, this sucked.
Yeah.
So Doc Scratch is talking to Rose, who's like, she has a magic cue ball that she's trying to figure out how to use because she's the seer. And he's like being like an awful, annoying, like Mary Sue insert omnipotent character about it, and making really gross jokes about her being such a cute little girl. But it's fine because he's a cue ball with no dick, so it's funny because she's uncomfortable, but she has no reason to be because he doesn't have a dick, because you have to have a dick to be a sexual predator.
Yeah. Oh man, their relationship is so gross.
And like,
it's meant
like
to be.
Rose like is completely like trying to shut him down.
Yeah.
And it's just supposed to be funny that he's like still doing it, and she has to like bear with it. It sucks.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's not meant to be. To me, it reads as really insidious, and I don't think it was meant to read as insidious as it does.
It's supposed to read as like, oh, you scalawag.
Yeah.
Like, he can't reproduce, so he can't be a pervert.
Yeah, It works though because the story's about to get kind of dark.
Yeah, I mean, we learn a lot here.
Yes.
So we learn that the scratch that Doc Scratch is trying to get Rose to do is not actually what causes the rift between the universes that brings Jack to the Trolls universe.
Right.
The scratch is actually a hard reset on the like human kids timeline.
Right.
As like a last ditch resort in a failed session, to hopefully roll for better starting conditions.
Right. So yeah. So number one, the scratch is a reset. Number two, okay, they want to destroy the Green Sun because that is Jack Noir's power source, like the one that's been prototyped with Becquerel, and that's going to save their universe. But doing so, it's also Doc Scratch's power source, which will kill Doc Scratch, which he wants to happen because when he dies, it summons his master, Lord English, who will also destroy the universe. But supposedly, that is the option that is less of a risk to reality as a whole, because Lord English's arrival in the universe are like, in each universe he arrives in is like predictable and orderly. He's essentially quote unquote like already here.
Right. He's like paradox space accounts for him.
Right.
Whereas Jack Noir is like a loose cannon.
Basically, she's sort of been investigating cheating via information that she gets from the horror towers in the Furthest Ring, delivered to her via her dream self that woke up because of that splintered timeline, where John got himself killed not on a quest bed, and so they were able to come back. Her dream self merged with the one in this alpha timeline, and so she learned a little bit about that. She became more connected to the horror towers. They started telling her more about what's going on because Jack is a threat to their existence, and so they're trying to help her. And what Doc Scratch is insinuating is that maybe they are not so trustworthy, or at least that they are kind of manipulating her more than she's aware.
Yeah, and he's also insinuating that her magic comes from within and not from her magic knitting needles, which she finds to be an insufferable thing to suggest, but also is true.
Yeah, I don't really understand any of that. I don't know why she would have inner magic. I don't know why it matters to her either way. Whatever.
I think she's just annoyed by
Max,
like the...
no. You
Oh my
dingus.
God.
Are you okay?
What did he do?
I have those cloth storage bins, and there's one at the top that they really like to climb into that like is empty, and I knew it was gonna fall.
Oh my God.
But I wanted to just let him learn from experience, not to fuck around in there. So he just fell about 5 feet,
Oh, Max.
6 feet, but he's okay. He's a cat.
He's a cat.
Max, are you okay? Come here, buddy. Come here, Bubs. Bubs. Bubba Gump. He's fine. I just watched him jump. He's fine. He's like running away from me.
So Rose can finally use the cue ball to see because she's a seer.
The crystal ball.
Right.
Oh, Rose can use the cue ball, yes.
Yeah, and it tells her that what she should do next is answer Jade, who's been trying to contact her. Jade catches her up on the fact that her mother has died.
Yeah. Which
really upsets Rose, understandably. But like she feels guilty for not following John's lead and looking for their parents. She feels guilty for like becoming obsessed with looking for ways to cheat instead of like focusing on the people.
Yeah.
Which is like good, like because I remember being like worried about her like losing her humanity.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that she like kind of gets snapped back to reality, at least for a second here.
For a fucking sec, because then Doc Scratch like butts in because Rose is kind of confiding in Jade about being concerned that maybe she was manipulated by the horror terrors, and Doc Scratch butts in and he's like, you could just ask, like you could ask your cue ball. Why don't you ask it? And Jade's like, I don't know, you might as well. So she does. And it responds by somehow, like, I guess, connecting her to the horror terrors or something. She stares into this, like, speeding abyss. And then her eye goes, like, black. So Rose is grimdark now, you guys.
Officially grimdark is what it says.
Yeah.
And it cuts between Kanaya glowing white, who's watching this, and Rose, like, glowing black. And it's cool.
It's really cool. She flies away. It's like, Rose, resist the urge to seek revenge. And she, like, doesn't at all. Yeah. She flies off, so and she's trailing, like, a massive black aura.
And she's going after Jack, right?
Yeah, her reasoning is like, listen, the Scratch is going to reset everything anyway. There will be a new version of me that won't remember any of it, so I may as well go kill him. I'll probably die, but whatever.
Right, which is, it's weird because, like, up until now, she thought she was going to be the one to do the scratch, but then Doc Scratch is like, no, like, your job was to find this disc that you have to scratch. Like, it's not actually going to be you who does it. It's going to be someone with a he pronoun who he doesn't specify, who scratches. Dave. Okay.
He makes it clear that it's Dave.
I mean, it makes sense because it's a giant turntable.
Yeah.
But yeah. So she flies off into the sky, and then we get a very special message from Big Man wants a timeout.
The Big Man wants to take a timeout. We have like a Sweet Bro Hella Jeff style interlude, like roses in the background, flying away. Things are going crazy in the yard, and so the Big Man has WV bring him a meter stick, asks him for the yardstick, and WV brings him a meter stick. And BM is like, you must have been toking up on a joint to make you and then it's cut off, stoned. Like, to be using the metric system and leaving rings lying around like that, because he did also lose track of the White Queen's ring. And then the Big Man takes the meter stick, snaps off like the difference, like 8.56 centimeters, like the difference between a meter and a yard. You got to snap it broke ways. Do you want to read it, or can I?
Go ahead, please.
It was at that point when you got distracted by the author's hot self-insert, who I think is also the Big Man, I guess, but now he's like sitting in a chair.
Wait, sorry, where are you? Oh, yeah. And then Hussey says, who were you expecting? The Easter Bunny?
Oh my God. You probably want to know how involved the big man wants to get into the story. You probably, oh yeah. All I have to say about that is, hoof want to know. Which is nothing.
So this is like a really triple irony, like direct address to the audience who are probably concerned about this exact thing. Hussey's self-insert being directly involved in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, so there's all this like nonsense text, and then there's a full page of like properly written text, but still in Comic Sans on a horrifically artifacted background.
Yeah.
Where basically he says in so many words, my self-insert will have a direct involvement on the story that I have surgically decided on. And I have measured it to be exactly 1 yard.
It literally shows the yardstick.
Yeah. So just a little break for Hussey to say, hey, don't worry, I'm still here.
Yeah, basically, I'm still here. It's also, like, cool foreshadowing, because, like, what the fuck does that mean?
What does it mean? I don't know.
What does it mean?
What does any of this mean?
No, I mean, what does it mean? Like, guess.
Oh, I think it's
Just, like, make something up.
His influence end to end will be exactly 1 yard.
Mm-hmm.
Means that he's going to stick 1 yard of leg through a hole in space-time and trip someone.
That rules.
Because he's tall, right? He probably has a yard of leg.
Probably. We'll have
to see some other time, because that's the end of our reading for today.
That's the end of the reading for today! We made it! Yay! I like this comic. That was fun.
Yeah, I remembered how much I enjoy this comic, and I can't wait to read the next chunk.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us. If you're listening to this one first, which maybe you are because you've heard of one of us in the meantime, this is a big commitment. Don't feel obliged to listen to it.
Yeah. Don't feel like you have to go back. I don't know. Like, just pick it up whenever. Don't listen at all. Whatever. I don't know. It'd be nice if you did. We're just doing this for funsies.
Yeah.
It was really, I want to shout out, like, the people, I think, just like a couple dozen people who were downloading our podcast this whole time. I don't know if you were the same people, but we've been getting downloads.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's people who are just like, it can't have been just automatic like updates to your podcatcher either, because we weren't releasing anything. So it was just new people finding us somehow or other and like deciding to download episodes. So like, thanks guys for giving a shit. Here's some content.
Here's content. Hope you like it. Hopefully we can make more soon.
Yeah.
You
want to talk about the ARG?
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So like, well, I guess we can like just kind of generally, Homestuck the comic is over, but like Homestuck the brand is not. There's like the Hive Swap game. I didn't even realize this until like a couple weeks ago. There's like an entire visual novel called Hive Swap Friend Sim.
What?
Where you just meet 36 different trolls.
I didn't know that.
It's like to tide over between Hive Swap Act 1 and 2.
Okay.
They're just like, they've just been introducing 2 trolls at a time in this like visual novel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a lot of trolls, and they all have troll names.
Yeah.
And they all have different like full hemospectrum syllabary symbols.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of them are good.
I believe there is some unreleased content of you and me looking through all of those trolls and me just screaming about how bad they are.
That wasn't all of them, because now they're actually all out there.
Hell. Hell.
Also, Homestuck is like available in bookstores now.
Oh, it's been.
Was it like when we were podcasting?
Yeah. The book started coming out in like, I don't know, 2012, 2013.
I guess I only saw them. Like, maybe they just weren't like...
They may not have been in
prominently displayed
in bookstores. Like, they were available online.
Right. Like, I mean,
So I guess, yeah,
you
it's
go
not
to
the
the
case that
normal.
they've been out in bookstores that whole
Right.
time. They were available online.
I like every time I go to the normal ass bookstore, like the Barnes and Noble equivalent in Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I just go to the comic section and there's Homestuck Acts 1 and 2 and 3 on the shelves.
No.
And it's weird.
That's like its own whole podcast, like how I feel about like this, and like good for Andrew Hussey, whatever, like I'm happy for him, but like Evan Dahm wrote a whole thing about Evan Dahm, who's a comics artist, wrote a whole thing about how like the internet is just not the Wild West that it was. It's become so aggressively commodified, and it's just not this free space for experimentation anymore. And so it's so hard to watch this bizarro piece of media that would not exist were it not for Andrew Hussey's ability to like build up his brand and build up his skills making weirdo content on the internet in the early 2000s, and then B, for that space to continue exist for like this brand like take off like wildfire and for that fandom culture to build and everything. And then it became popular, and now like the website's rebranded, everything is branded, there's like merch everywhere, like it just isn't the, you know, like it's not like hard to figure out how to read it. And like, not that I think there should be barriers to entry for content, but it's more like symbolic of the overall like commodification of the internet, in a way that's really hard. This is free content that I like stumbled across, you know, and now it's a commodity.
Like, I want to say, like, it's not bad that there's Homestuck merchandise, obviously. Like, it's great that he can make money off of this. But, like, it being, like, so Homestuck is, like, Homestuck.com is copyright Homestuck and Viz Media, which is, like, an anime merchandise company.
Yeah.
And that's just weird.
It's terrible.
Like, it's corporate.
Yeah. Well, it's not, I mean, it's just the way that it is. If you want to let your stuff blow up like this, like, you do partner with big corporations, but just like...
So anyway, all that to say, there's one piece of shitty Homestuck news that we should address because it's pretty recent and pretty bad.
Yeah. So I'll just tell
you. Take this?
Do you want me to just do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, a couple weeks ago,
at time of recording,
Andrew Hussey apparently posted as like an ARG, like as just some like random content that you had to like go looking for, some text files that he wrote as lore for a part of the comic that like is way far ahead, that's basically an alternate history of Earth, that he probably wrote, I'm guessing, around 2012, no later than maybe 2013. And it never was, you know, made it to the comic. It was totally unnecessary. It went up. It was definitely problematic. I think almost immediately was called out by the fandom of being like, hey, this sucks. And he promptly took it down. I think I don't know, it seems like he handled it pretty well. He promptly took it down. He made an apology that was an actual apology.
Yeah, that's like what, like, I didn't read the actual content, obviously.
Yeah, I told Alex not to because it's got spoilers.
Yeah, but like from what I heard, it just like, I don't even know if we have to like specify what the content is. It was just like the only thing I heard basically was, in this alternate universe, Einstein causes the Holocaust, which is just a wildly anti-Semitic thing, and like he specifically said that was a wildly anti-Semitic thing for me to write.
Yeah.
And I apologize for having written it, and I apologize for having posted it. So it sucks, but it's also a big relief, because for a couple of hours there, I was worried that Homestuck was just going to be like canceled.
Yeah.
Hussey is as far as I know, a straight cis white dude.
Mm-hmm. Believe so.
And there's a lot of like edginess in his humor, but also it's good to know that he's not a complete monster, or at least has improved significantly in the past decade.
Yeah, holy shit, dude. This content is rough. Like, not just the piece of it that's anti-Semitic, but just like very historical figures are kept as sex slaves. Like, why is this in your comic?
Okay.
Yeah. Multiple historical figures.
Okay.
Like, oh, God. So the gist of, like, what was problematic, was Albert Einstein was a con man who posed as a genius, was sort of positioned as a genius in the public eye, for plot reasons that don't matter, to just kind of, like, stay in charge of things. And Hitler was a disgruntled employee also involved in that orbit. And they were, Einstein and his colleagues were basically trying to keep him out of the way. Because Hitler was really envious of Einstein's supposed success. Not realizing that, like, all of it was a fraud, which, like, obviously it wasn't. Like, obviously Einstein really did do that. And so, they keep promoting Hitler to these, like, meaningless positions, quote unquote, like promoting him out of the way, kind of. They promote him to chancellor, whatever that is, to get him out of the way. And then, I believe what ends up happening is that, then Hitler, like, starts the Holocaust over it. Extends his, like, rivalry with Albert Einstein to, like, all Jewish people. And the Holocaust starts. And then Albert Einstein and his whole organization have to, like, take him out. Like, take out Hitler. Okay. So, like, and Hussey's apology is, like, I meant this to be satire, but obviously, like,
there's nothing satirical about it.
It's, like, not good satire, and I didn't handle it properly, and this is too delicate to, like, be dealing with, and I'm sorry that I wrote it. I'm sorry that I posted it. I'm sorry I posted it without any, like, disclaimers. Like, that sucked. My bad. I'm gonna be better. But so it I'm sure really sucked for a lot of fans to read, honestly. That's one sort of piece of problematic behavior that I don't believe Hussey had previously engaged in, anti-Semitism, at least publicly. So, yeah, but I don't know. Homestuck does not seem to be canceled, but that happened.
Yeah.
Now you know.
And, like, Homestuck is already, like, obviously not in the same way. It's already, like, a difficult piece of media for a lot of reasons, and we kind of touched on some of that today.
It's a problematic fave.
Yeah. And I think it's worth talking about things that have problems.
Yeah.
And seeing what you can find that's good in them. For
sure. Because I definitely think there's a lot about this comic that is good. And I even think that it ended up creating a space and a fandom. It was toxic in a lot of ways, but it could be. But yeah. I do think it also, like, created a great space. I mean, like, Undertale happened. You know what I mean? Like, it did create a great space for a lot of people creating interesting content and just finding a community.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that's a good note to end on. Excuse me. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I miss doing this podcast. This is fun. I'm probably going to, so I never finished the comic. Like, in my original read through, I stopped somewhere in the middle of Act 6. Which is saying that's the whole second half of the comic, but I think I stopped somewhere in the about 1,000 pages after Cascade, and so I started rereading from where we left off with this podcast, and I think I'm gonna truck on ahead and read the whole thing, just so that I will continue to have future knowledge. We'll see if I keep doing that for real, but I might not, but I might, because I like this comic and I missed reading it kind of concurrently.
Nice.
So,
kind of in the same vein, but opposite vein, the artery. I'm going to, I think...
That was good!
Thanks. I think I'm going to, like, go back and read what we have so far over the next few weeks, because I really want to, like, bring my A game to remembering what's happened so far.
Yeah. Honestly, I might do that,
and also
too.
Because I miss these characters, and this ridiculous, weird art project.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hamsteak with you in the future.
Yeah. We will be back. We told you we'd be back, and we're back.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried.
I'm telling the audience not to worry about it.
Okay. So, where can they find us? Oh, do you think we have any audience questions? Should we look for them?
No.
Nah, let's do it next week. I gotta go for a run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, about your podcast. Oh, we have some email. Oh, these are people spamming us about monetizing our podcast.
Yeah. I should also mention I'm on another podcast now.
Yeah! That's a good one!
Thanks. It's called Henry Kissinger Is Pokemon Going to Die? It's not a thread, it's just a fact. It's very different from this podcast in that it's about current events through the lens of people who are too online. But it's also like it's a really good community. It was started by like friends that met through the
Post Game of Thrones.
Peagot Empire, who post Game of Thrones, who are the original podcast boys in my heart.
Yeah, Eddie and Brooks make a lot of good podcasts. You should check them out.
But yeah, they do. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Here's another podcast.
Here's another one that they all do update consistently. So
yeah.
Hi, Phoebe.
Hi, Phoebe. Thank you so much.
Do you hear my cat chastising me?
Yes.
She's like, it's dinner time. Yeah, so you can find us on the internet if you do want to ask us questions or whatever.
Yeah, you can.
We are.
You can go to hamsteakpodcast.tumblr.com, or you can.
What?
Man, the hamsteak handle is being sat on.
Just hamsteak.
Has 3 followers no tweets, and joined in 2010.
Damn.
But yeah, the Hamsteak Podcast at Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Crunchleaf and Tumblr at LeafCrunch. Since this recording, I've gotten the Twitter handle LeafCrunch from Twitter user MintMashed, so thank you very much to them for switching with me.
You can't find me online. I'm stealth mode now.
It's fine.
It's fine. I'm not very online anymore. That's another thing that kind of happened in the middle of the hiatus. I'm like not online
reasonable.
at all.
Like I don't blame you at all, and I hope the listeners don't either, because online is not great all the time.
Online's like a little too much for me. I might be back someday. I'm thinking about taking my Twitter public, but we'll see. But y'all are still lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still gonna like answer your questions and stuff. So yeah, it's good talking to you.
Good talking to you too.